Hello everyone, and welcome to another Guild Wars 2 video.
Hello.
Uh, that's Rob, by the way. I'm Tim. We've been looking over some comments that we've gotten, and we just wanted to do a quick response to someone who'd posted a very interesting question. The question comes from Anthrax Beta 27, and they've said that I'm worried about the fact that there are no set roles like tanking or healing. I've never been a DPS, I've always chosen to protect the group in some way. And also, the PvP does not seem fast paced, it just seems like really long fights that are slow. These are my worries, so if anyone has any info on how I'm worrying about nothing, or I'm wrong, please let me know. And so, thank you, Anthrax, for asking that question, and that's what we're going to discuss. So, Rob, what do you have to say on it?
Well, healing is it's a very fun thing to do when you're in a group and the group is relying upon you for their survival. And that's what it's all about, really, isn't it? It's
That's
the
the thing
actual
that people cling to and associate with healing. They like that part of it.
well, yeah, I mean that's the whole point of it, really, isn't it? I mean, if you are the support, you are the guy who keeps the tank up and the DPS topped up they're being nice healers.
So,
Um,
so it's the responsibility and the awesome feeling of being depended upon.
Exactly, which is completely understandable and exactly what the whole point is. It's you are being literally a really major linchpin role of the group.
Yeah. Does that mean then that the actual act of healing itself, do you think? I mean, that's not what people like.
I think they like healing, but I think the actual actions that you do on the keyboard and in relation to what's going on, I think it could be done better, but then that's the issue, isn't it? I mean, how do you do it better than a grid system where you can see everyone's health bars and you're clicking on what needs up, you know, topping up in a whack-a-mole situation?
Exactly. I mean that model, the one that's established and works now. I mean, it is pretty much they've got it as good as it can be, really, isn't it? I mean, that's all it's going to boil down to. But the actual process of clicking on health bars and managing people itself, personally, I refuse to believe that that's really engaging content. I just refuse to accept the idea that someone can really like that aspect of it. What I think they like is the dependency, the responsibility, and the feeling of helping the group.
Yeah, I mean, we've both healed. I mean, you've done a lot more healing in raids than I have. I've done like a bit of group healing, which didn't go too well, but yeah, definitely didn't. I mean, it wasn't that part of it. The actual clicking on the window, the bars and topping up people wasn't the part that was fun. It was I just kept that person alive. If it wasn't for that heal I just did, he would be dead, and we'd all have wiped.
Yeah, but in a lot of situations, I mean, as you say, I've done it a little bit more than you. In a lot of situations, because there's so much damage being thrown around, and it is intense. It can be pretty harrowing actually if it's the group's getting, maybe not geared up to the level that you're at in that particular game, and they're taking more damage than they should. Then you can be furiously trying to do it, and it can be quite intense, but at the same time, you don't really feel connected to the events that are unfolding. It's like an arbitrary abstraction of the situation. And yeah, I would say my experience was that I liked being the one who kind of saved the day and protected people, but I didn't really enjoy the process of it, no matter if it got really intense or furious or things were getting hairy. It was just the fact that I was there to protect people, and that actually I liked. But what I think is, the fact that there's no Holy Trinity in Guild Wars 2 does not necessarily translate directly to the fact that there are no ways to protect the group or, be relied upon by the group. It means it happens in different ways.
Yeah, being completely brainwashed almost constantly by reports and maybe and ArenaNet propaganda, as to say, of like trying to get people away from there is no tank, there is no healer, and trying to get people into the mindset before they even get into the game that it's different, and it must be really hard to try and break that while bringing out a new MMO where people are going to expect an MMO, and then to say, well, actually, no, it's a bit different. So yeah, I mean, looking at how Guild Wars 2 does it differently, there isn't one focus point where the damage is going to go. So that already breaks the method in which, if one person can't hold the aggro, then you're already coming into a different realm, aren't you, really?
Yeah, but that just underscores the whole point, really, doesn't it? That Guild Wars 2 combat is it's dynamic. It's not falling into the traditional, okay, you stand here, we'll stand here and damage, and then you guys can just kind of keep us all alive. It doesn't work like that. It's much more, if anything, I mean, these games are never realistic, but if anything, it feels more organic.
Yeah, it's definitely more organic than the you pull off this ad over here and you pull off this ad over here, and
Yeah.
and we'll take down the main boss and then those two guys will die, type thing. Or it's there's no there seems to be no real set formula other than you might have to find something's weakness probably, or you might and exploit that, or um and the ability to obviously move out of the way of stuff.
Yeah, and the classes themselves, every class has a good strong mix of, all, obviously damage abilities, but we all have support abilities. Everyone has their range of heals that they can use, self heals, and some of them will heal other people as well. And lots of other useful little tricks that really they just allow you to think creatively in the
Yeah.
fray, I guess. I mean, you can just approach this with a completely like a blank canvas almost, and just decide how it is that you want to succeed as a group.
Yeah, the interesting thing is everyone, like you said, everyone has a support role, and what Anthrax, I think, said was that he was looking at, or she, sorry, I don't know, was they were looking at doing more kind of like a mesmer role where they'd have more support. And I'd just like to say that, yes, that is a good role to play, and they have a lot of support kind of stuff in there. But I mean, like the warrior has some great stuff in there with their buff banners and the don't overlook the engineer with their pack, their med kit. They've got like a med pack you can put down, and people can, you can use bandages and you can get rid of poisons and other effects on people like that. So although trying to find the class that is the most supporty might be the answer here, they're not all that supporty, and the best way you can support is to revive people when they're down as quickly as possible and to do damage. Because if everyone isn't doing damage, then that thing's not going to go down very fast at all. And the fact is, you're not going to be able to keep people alive with the tools you're given. So you can't you can't go in and focus completely on support because it just won't work.
No,
You have to damage. You have to use your abilities against said creature.
well that's true, but I mean the fact that most classes are a mix of you've got your obviously damage abilities, and you've got they're backup really, the support abilities, aren't they? They're there to kind of help you when you need it and to help your friends when you need it, but they're not to be depended upon.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. I mean, I think, but the boons are, and getting rid of conditions is like Mesmers, for example, can um, remove conditions with the null field skill,
Hmm.
which is great. But again, it's I wouldn't focus on support. I'd focus on um, being able to combat effectively, and then include in that the actual help and support of your group,
Yeah, but I mean,
rather
what
than,
what people will probably find though is that collectively, because everyone's got these other abilities that are being used, the group will collectively protect itself, and that just seems more organic again to reuse that because I mean at the end of the day, if you're playing a traditional healer in a traditional Holy Trinity situation, I mean how it just doesn't seem to like make much sense in a strange kind of way.
well, then again, if you think about it again with the organic argument, if you put a group of hard-ass warriors in a room with a giant spider, and they had to fight said spider. Right, they're not gonna have one guy going, right, I'll go and take all the damage. Um, you stand at the back and keep us all alive, and you guys stand behind said spider and you know
No,
do your cycle.
it just
And
wouldn't work like that.
well,
As much
the
as something
combat I
like that
found,
can
yeah,
work.
the combat I found in Guild Wars 2 is a more like, holy crap, I need to move out the way, or he's
Yeah,
chasing me, or um,
exactly. Guild Wars
it's
2 gives you those tools to respond to things like that in ways that haven't been done before. I mean, just with something as simple as the dodge mechanics.
yeah. I mean, being a rogue, for example, in if you were a rogue in another MMO, um, then and you got hit by the boss, you were pretty much gone. That was it. I mean, like you'd be pretty much one
Yeah,
shot.
the thing would just
Um,
turn around and go splat.
but the thing is, if they did look at you and they did do that, you would not be able to get out of the way.
No.
Guild Wars 2, you might be nearly dead or at least dead on that hit or downed in the down state. But it would it well, I would say about 60-70% of the time it would have been your own fault, because literally you could get out of the way, and you've got abilities that enable you to dodge or evade. Like for example, the Mesmer has um, a kind of a flurry, a blade flurry kind of thing, which even if you didn't have any energy left to dodge, you could just pop that and you'd evade the hit. So there are lots of things like that that you need to. It's so different that it's really hard. It's chalk and cheese. It's trying
It's
to.
breaking down that preconception that's been established for so long that there needs to be this thing, otherwise everything will work. Well, that's true of the old way, I guess, the old combat method. But because things are so different, regardless, in Guild Wars 2, it's almost as if the game itself does not call for that kind of system.
Yeah, completely. But it also makes everyday battles outside of dungeons and outside of bosses more exciting and more epic. Just because you haven't got all that standing still in the same place and doing your set abilities. Like I can
Yeah,
still remember what I used to do when I was playing my mage in Darkshire and taking down spiders and things like that. I would, you set off your ice bolt, you slow it, and then you take it down before it even reaches you. But it's so different now that you can actually be fighting something, for a good few minutes. I mean, we had like a whole pack of spiders chasing us around with a group of us last time, and it was awesome because it was like, oh, there's another one, and they just kept coming, and we kept alive. It was an amazingly close fought fight, but we managed to use our abilities and our heals and everything to keep ourselves up. And then when someone went down, we were able to get them back up again, and there's a lot more momentum to it, I suppose.
yeah. It wasn't. It's not just a rinse and repeat
And
thing.
it's not just dead. The down system is so genius. I thought, oh, that's crap because now you're going to go down and you can never die because people can just get back up again and all that kind of stuff. And it felt a bit soft when I first heard about it, but actually experiencing it in that situation, it works perfectly because it just extends your ability to live a little bit longer and um, gives that teamwork of that support that if someone comes up and gets you back up again, it's just a game changer. That's the it's almost like throwing that heal that saves the raid.
Yeah, it's almost like that kind of thing. Just it fills in the blanks and it makes the game more dynamic. The combat, I think really the combat's my favourite thing at the end of the day about Guild Wars 2. I mean, it's really innovative in many different ways and refreshing, and the content's awesome, but the combat just makes it for me.
Yeah, I'd agree. And what was the question about PvP? About it being too
Yeah,
slow?
he or she, I'm sorry, we don't know
They.
who. Yeah, they say, um, yeah, the PvP does not seem fast paced. It just seems like really long fights that are slow.
um, I think again, it feels different. I really enjoy PvP in Guild Wars 2 compared to other generic MMO title here because in the other one, I'm not gonna just allude to
So
names.
in WoW in
Yeah.
PvP, you basically it's over in like a few seconds, and you're either dead or alive.
Well, basically, what happens is you walk into the arena, if it's an arena fight, for example, and the guy who is awesome, who's facing you because you're never awesome, because that's how it always feels.
Because
Um,
they've got like top
because they've got
tier
like
PvP gear as
tier
well.
47,
Yeah.
you can't even touch them with anything when they. But all that kind of gear aside, it's basically what it comes down to is I've got these, cooldown abilities, and I'll just pop more and kill you, and then that's the end of the match. And
Yeah.
that's how WoW works. I mean, and that's not, it's not combat. It's just getting the timing right, um, and then at the end of the day, having the better gear that make you hit harder than the other guy.
Just to stay though, we're not saying that the people who are like up in PvP in World of Warcraft are not skilled. I mean, they are obviously very
Oh
skilled
God, yeah,
players to be able to have the reflexes and have the key bindings just completely fluid. Um, but a big thing in that game is gear. I mean, that is the deciding thing in so many cases. Once you've got that gear advantage, it's almost impossible to match those people really, unless you are some sort of like god of skill. But yeah, I mean,
which is nice with like, I mean, Guild Wars 2. Obviously, we're not going to talk about this now, but levels the playing field on gear, which is great. So obviously, that's not the issue here. But
no,
the issue being that the fight is over so quickly.
yeah,
I think it's just boring because when I ever used to do PvP
wow,
in WoW, the only time I really enjoyed it was when we were playing Warsong Gulch, and it was a really strong group that literally could carry me because they had some awesome armor and gear and stuff. And
yeah. So basically, you got carried, and it felt good.
yeah, but it was great because when I was with the group, we could all. I couldn't part from the group because as soon as I was away, and a lot of the time I was the first target down because I was as soft as a ball of mozzarella. It was ridiculous. I could not, then I didn't have the honor points or whatever it was at the time. I can't remember now to get any gear that would resist that. So
Hmm.
yeah, it was just boring because it was just so over so quickly. Whereas I think WoW you could kind of like say is almost like a spreadsheet fight. Whereas Guild Wars, especially at the start now, is a bit more like a drunken brawl,
Yes.
and it's kind of like you're slugging it out in the bar, and suddenly someone picks up a bottle and smashes it over the side of the guy's head, and it's all a bit kind of like, what the hell's going on? Let's kind of ad lib this, and that's how it feels more.
Yeah, and you do get a really good chance at staying alive as well. There's so much you can do to counteract, and there's so much that the opponent can do to counteract that's what makes the combat longer. And I personally, my preference is for longer fights. I don't want to see, personally from PvP, I don't want to see fights that they're over in a few seconds based on cooldowns. I want to see something that actually feels like a real fight, and a real fight does not end in 10 seconds.
Yeah, and the problem I had in WoW was there was nothing I could do. There was nothing I could do other than go back into the fight again and try and earn some honor points so I could buy some gear. There was
Yeah.
literally nothing I could do
Well,
to win the fight.
you have a few options. I mean, if memory serves, you get like the chance to use your trinket, but then that's cooldown gone, and then you may have a couple of escape abilities, but yeah, it's really rock paper scissors, isn't it? It's you do
Yeah.
what you'll use your evasive maneuver, and then they'll counteract it. And then basically it'll all boil down to gear once all that's out of the question. But and it was really fast. I don't know how it is now. I mean, I haven't played WoW in a year really. But you know, my memory of especially Arena is it just felt like once the match was set, the outcome was pretty much predetermined.
Yeah, but once you've seen who your opponents were, you instantly knew how well you would fare against them,
Yeah,
just depending on what their class was. Because you knew as soon as you saw the class, you knew exactly what their build would be, pretty
yeah.
much. because that's just how it goes. If you're going to PvP, you build this way,
Yeah.
and that's that.
Yeah, although sometimes you did run into some very bizarre people that you would just take pity on them and kill
Yeah,
them.
but that's the thing, isn't it? They're
But
the
then
people like
they
us.
exactly, but
They're
they
just the PvEers who've come in and do PvP.
yeah, and they have not, they don't get the chance to defend themselves. They just get owned.
Yeah,
With
you
Guild
can
Wars 2,
completely tell when there was someone like me playing the game because as soon as I went to fight them, I was just like, I just stomped
yeah.
on them.
But in that situation in Guild Wars 2, I mean, again, you're gonna have your chance at fighting, and
Yeah, yeah. That's
but
the,
that's
the
how
whole
it
point.
differs. I mean, you may well prefer the fast-paced PvP of another MMO, or it's just preference, isn't it? You may prefer the kind of slower, more drawn-out pace of PvP in Guild Wars 2. And to take it to extremes, the world versus world events and stuff like that. I mean, that is the extreme end of the scale. I mean, that is drawn out to an epic proportion, and that's just the way that Guild Wars 2 leans. And it's really down to whether or not that kind of thing is for you. Personally, my preference is for the Guild Wars 2 approach.
Yeah, there might be a shocking factor in all of this, and that is that you might not actually like Guild Wars 2.
Well, that's true. I mean, not everyone has to like Guild Wars 2. A large number of people will like it, but at the end of the day, people have different opinions. You're entitled to your opinion, and it cannot be swayed by anyone other than yourself. So
Yeah, exactly.
there's nothing wrong with not liking Guild Wars 2. Is the other answer to your question?
Exactly. There's nothing the matter with either way.
But
And
we
to
will
be honest,
silently judge you.
yeah, we will silently judge you and shake our heads and hang our heads in pity towards the loss of another individual.
My
But
my sort of thing would be to just say, try it, give it a
yeah,
go.
that's what I said.
Yeah,
I'd say definitely try it, and it's so different anyway that it's just a different game really.
yeah. It shouldn't
Um,
be. You shouldn't compare the two.
no, you can't though because they're so different.
Anyway, this was just a short video. Well, not really a short video, but a lengthy discussion video that we wanted to do to address this question.
A little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
It's a huge subject that's a problem. It's a massive
Yeah.
subject, and we haven't even touched on real what professions can do. And I'd just say don't think you're going to choose one profession because you think it's a more supportive profession, because I think you'll find that a lot of them have really good when they've got support skills, they're actually pretty good support skills anyway. So I'd look at as much as you can, check out wiki.guildwars2.com for the official wiki, and just go through and look at what abilities they've got and what weapons they have, and you'll be surprised, I think, at the amount of support, and then also probably the lack of support that is in each class profession. Sorry.
Yeah. Check that out. Thanks everyone again for watching and staying with us. Remember to subscribe so you can be notified for future videos, and we will see you guys next time. Guild Wars 2 beta this weekend. Don't forget to join us on Code Dash German server EU. Bye bye.
Bye.